Imagine walking into your office tomorrow, and for every single human sitting at a desk, there are 100 invisible autonomous colleagues doing the heavy lifting. 100 to 1. That is the exact ratio NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang is predicting for the workforce by 2036. And to make that a reality, tech giants are actively tearing down the old software ecosystems. OpenAI is currently merging all of its disparate tools into a massive, unified desktop superapp, while Amazon is building a new smartphone that ditches the traditional app store entirely. The era of tab fatigue is officially dying, and we are rapidly entering the age of the fully autonomous agent. If you're trying to navigate this massive shift and keep up with how fast these models are moving, you are in the right place. Welcome to Inuku.com, AI news you can use, your daily dose of AI know-how. Let's dive right into the details. OpenAI is moving aggressively into this era of total consolidation. They are pivoting their product strategy by taking ChatGPT, their Codex coding tool, and their Atlas browser, and merging them all into one single desktop super app. Think about it like a master chef. In the old software model, the chef is running around a chaotic kitchen, going to the fridge for veggies, the pantry for spices, and the rack for pans. It's exhausting, but this OpenAI super app is like building a state-of-the-art workstation, where the moment the chef needs an ingredient, it just physically comes directly to their hands. To lock that workflow down, they recently acquired Astral, and they are baking those elite Python developer tools right into the Codex engine. The entire goal is for the system to execute multi-step engineering and business workflows autonomously, without you ever needing to switch applications. But Google is definitely not sitting around letting OpenAI take over the desktop. Their full-stack counterpunch is fascinating. They have completely overhauled AI Studio, transforming it from a simple prompt box into a comprehensive development environment. It is now powered by a new coding agent they are calling Anti-Gravity, which handles the heavy lifting by understanding project structures across multiple sessions. It natively supports modern frameworks like Next.js, NPM, ShadCN, and FramerMotion to visually build complex user interfaces. Google even baked Firebase directly into it, so natively, in fact, that the AI automatically sets up databases and user authentication on its own. They are so confident in this unified direction that they are sunsetting Firebase Studio entirely, basically burning the boats. They've reorganized their entire browser team to focus strictly on coding agents, and they are actively testing a dedicated Gemini Mac desktop app to house it all. But on the creative side, humans are still pushing the boundaries of what these tools can render. Microsoft's AI superintelligence team, led by Mustafa Suleyman, just launched May Image 2. Suleyman actually pivoted his team entirely away from Copilot just to focus on these frontier models, and it shows. May Image 2 secured the number 5 spot on the Arena AI leaderboard with a massive 115-point improvement in text rendering quality. That means no more weird, garbled alien text on your generated posters, slides, or infographics. It's completely free right now for US users in the MAI Playground. This puts immense pressure on Adobe, though Adobe Firefly did just respond by launching custom models, allowing enterprise brands to train the AI on their own proprietary images so they can generate new assets without losing their highly consistent brand identity. Under the hood of all this application layer software, the academic and venture capital ecosystems are moving at light speed. Researchers at UC Berkeley recently introduced M2RNN, a project that brings nonlinear math back into older AI architectures. This sounds incredibly dry, but it's a massive deal. Think of normal linear math like tracing a line across a giant map with your finger. It takes time to get from point A to point B. Nonlinear math is like folding the map in half so point A touches point B instantly. It is vastly more efficient, and Berkeley proved it can outperform newer designs the industry assumed were superior. Simultaneously, Princeton released OpenClawRL, a framework that gives these models live training signals in the wild without requiring any manual data labeling. It just learns as it goes, turning every conversation and tool output into training data. This underlying evolution is exactly why AI startups are utterly dominating venture capital returns right now. Investors are pouring capital into AI-driven companies because the tech is essentially building itself and actively outperforming other categories. But here is the elephant in the room. All of this requires an unfathomable amount of physical infrastructure. The new bottleneck is compute and energy. Samsung is committing over $73 billion in capital expenditure this year alone just to expand semiconductor chip capacity. Jeff Bezos is reportedly raising a $100 billion investment fund for a highly secretive startup called Project Prometheus. His goal is to acquire legacy manufacturing, defense, and aerospace companies and aggressively automate their operations using AI. Automating aerospace is zero-tolerance territory. You cannot have an AI hallucinate a plane wing, which is exactly why NVIDIA's vision for GTC 2026 is so critical. They are expanding deeply into physical AI and agentic workflows. They unveiled the OpenClaw Agent Framework, a secure NemoClaw version designed for enterprise professionals, and formed the Nemotron Coalition with Perplexity, Cursor, and Mistral AI to advance open models, including their massive new 120 billion parameter Nemotron 3 Super. However, this massive push is hitting a brick wall when it comes to the global power grid. A new report from S&P Global presented at CERAWeek projects that data center power demand will grow up to 16% annually through 2030. Their conclusion is brutal. The traditional linear energy transition toward decarbonization is dead. We just need too much power, too fast, which is driving up retail electricity prices globally. So how are tech companies handling a grid that can't support them? Google just signed a 1 gigawatt flexible power agreement using demand response technology. Think of it like a smart city grid during a massive heat wave. Instead of letting the entire city brown out because everyone is running their air conditioning, the grid dynamically pauses the municipal laundry machines and non-essential systems to ensure the hospital lights stay on. Google will dynamically throttle its own non-essential AI workloads during periods of peak grid stress to keep local communities powered. Contrast that surgical approach with infrastructure firm IREN. They are building a massive data center campus in Prince George capable of housing over 20,000 NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs. It requires a staggering 4.5 gigawatt power portfolio and specialized liquid cooling just to handle the high-density heat. It is pure brute force engineering. So we have the infrastructure, we have the Superapps, but how are regular people actually reacting to all of this? The human response is deeply messy. Anthropic published a massive sentiment study involving 80,000 users across 159 countries. While 32% of respondents reported that AI dramatically sped up tedious tasks, 27% expressed deep fears regarding hallucinations and inaccuracy. People want the AI to assist with routine professional work and life management, but widespread anxiety persists regarding job displacement, a loss of personal agency, and cognitive atrophy. Like, if the AI does everything, do we forget how to think? The data also revealed a stark cultural divide. Users in India and South America are highly favorable toward AI, seeing it as a tool for growth, while sentiment in the US and Europe leans heavily neutral or outright negative. You can see this cultural friction playing out in real time with creators and artists. In Hollywood, the late actor Val Kilmer will appear posthumously in an upcoming film called As Deep as the Grave, produced by First Line Films and directed by Coerto Voorhees. Starring alongside Abigail Laurie and Tom Felton, Kilmer's performance as a Catholic priest will be generated entirely by AI. The production team worked closely with his estate and his daughter, Mercedes, to complete the performance, presenting a total embrace of AI as a beautiful continuation of his legacy. But that exact technology is causing massive tension elsewhere. Contrast the Kilmer film with Patreon CEO Jack Conte, who used his platform at SXSW to forcefully demand creator compensation in the AI era. He flatly rejected the concept that ingesting creator data qualifies as fair use. Conte argued that while creators will adapt to disruptions, they absolutely deserve a fair financial stake in the models being trained on their life's work. And all this cultural friction is bleeding directly into a massive policy war right now in the United States. The Trump administration has released a comprehensive legislative framework to establish federal AI regulations. It is a deregulation-heavy approach that specifically aims to preempt state-level AI laws to create a single national standard. The focus is heavily on removing regulatory barriers for data center permitting to secure American leadership, and notably, it attempts to shift the burden of children's online safety away from tech companies and directly onto parents. The immediate response from Democratic lawmakers was the introduction of the Guardrails Act. This counter legislation is designed specifically to repeal that federal preemption, aiming to protect the rights of individual states so local governments can continue to enforce their own algorithmic bias laws and consumer protections. It is a massive structural clash between federal streamlining and state-level protection. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more insights like this at inuku.com. When you pull all of this together, from the OpenAI and Google desktop superapps to the gigawatt data centers to the legislative battles in Washington, the core thesis of today's landscape is unavoidable. The transition from experimental conversational chatbots to autonomous, action-oriented systems is fully underway. We are actively deploying AI as the core, unified infrastructure of the modern economy. It is writing our software, automatically moderating our social networks, piloting our aviation routes, managing our healthcare data, and fundamentally forcing us to rewire our national power grids and rewrite our laws. The bottleneck has shifted entirely from what the software is capable of doing to the physical constraints of what our energy grids and chip manufacturers can handle. And that's your daily dose of AI know-how from inuku.com, AI news you can use. The biggest takeaway today is ultimately a question of human agency. When your code is written by Cursor, your phone's operating system is run by invisible Amazon agents, your daily news headlines are auto-generated, and your calendar is entirely handled by WhatsApp bots, where exactly does the machine end, and where do you begin? Something to think about the next time you open a blank document.